Okay, it looks like we're live. Today's class is a 75-minute class. So we do moving and breathing and all the work for 60 minutes and then a long 15-minute shavasana at the end, resting pose with a meditation, guided meditation. Grab yoga blocks if you have them. And also grab a band if you have it, if you want to work with it. These are not necessary. You can just work and adjust without them. The bands are super helpful because there's not a lot of pulling motion in yoga. So the bands just give you a little ability to use your muscles in a pulling fashion rather than a push or a hold. Kayla looks super psyched to be here today. All right, we're gonna do twists and turns and core work today. All right, I'll let Kaylee start on your back. So, come on down to your backs. Start to find your mat. Maybe give your hips a little wiggle before you settle in. Maybe roll across the hips and the lower back, just kind of feeling the ground. And maybe instead of bringing your feet all the way along, bring your feet wide and let your knees drop in. And if this is not super comfortable for your lower back or your knees, wiggle the feet position around until you find that point where everything feels nice and soft and completely comfortable. There should be a restorative pose. So just kind of check in, looking for any tweaks in the back, looking for any tweaks in the hips and the shoulders, and landing on the mat. Taking the sounds and distractions. You might be able to hear the fans. I apologize, but it's like a sauna in here. Start to take in your environment just so you know what's around. Just kind of letting your fight or flight system know what is there so that you can start to just tune it all out and arrive on your mat in your own physical body. Trying to have an internal experience today. So we're going to pump it up. We're going to work pretty hard. Trying to have your own internal experience on your own mat. What we do is just a guide for you. It's not exactly what you have to do. You don't have to match my body shape. You don't have to match Kaylee's body shape. Just trying to find some muscle engagement within your own body and feel what your body is doing. Where it's at, where it's strong, where it needs work. We'll have a little play time today, trying to work into an arm balance. Starting to find your breath, letting your torso soften and your breath arrive more slowly and more fully in the torso. If you can, intentionally breathing in and out through the nose and really paying attention, is the inhale or exhale longer? And then see if you can start to add gentle pauses. So breathe in nice and soft and slow. Add a gentle pause. And then breathe out nice and soft and slow and add a gentle pause. Inhale, gentle pause. Exhale, gentle pause. And if it helps to ground you and keep you focused on your breath, you can even repeat to yourself in your head. Inhaling, gentle pause. Very slowly breathing out, gentle pause. Or I am breathing in, gentle pause. I am very slowly breathing out, gentle pause. And again, an internal experience. If talking to yourself makes you feel loopy, skip it. This is your practice, your experience. And then let all thoughts of your breath melt away. Very slowly take your chin all the way over to the right shoulder and feel the left side of the neck. Place the left hand down on the ground and press the palm of the hand into the ground. And just see if you can find little wiggles, little movements where you feel like you find the tension in the left side of the neck. Just awakening to the tension, feeling it. And let that go. Bring the head back through neutral into the other side. Place the right hand down and just wiggle around. Find the tension on the right side of the neck. And bring it back to neutral. Make sure that the chin is pointing to the ceiling and the shoulders are nice and solid on the ground. Really keeping the shoulders down. Bring the feet about hip width apart and maybe a little further away from the glutes. We're going to move and breathe. So I like the backs of my arms on the ground and hands to the ceiling. We're going to inhale, lift the hips, exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Just starting to connect with movement and breath. Trying to find all the muscles from the heels to the glutes. And then trying to engage the lower core to lift the hips also. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Trying not to find that super arch. We're using muscles, not finding the arch and closing the gap between the throat and the chest. So inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift the hips up and hold. See if you can bring the weight onto the left foot, trying to keep the hips as solid and even as they are now. Maybe even hold them with your hands just to keep an eye on them. Lift and hover the right heel. Maybe this is enough. Maybe you can come to little pulses. Inhale, lift, exhale, lower. Tiny movement. And then lower the right foot, get nice and stable. Lift the left, inhale, lift, exhale, lower. Plant that right heel into the ground. Really fire up the glute and the hamstrings, the back of the right leg. Breathe. And then lower the foot, lower the hips. Take a little shimmy side to side with the knees and the hips. Nice and slow. Looking to release tension. Bring the hips back to neutral, knees back to neutral. Land the rib cage on the ground. So really actively pressing the rib cage down, press the hips down. Bring the feet even with the knees over the hips. This should feel like work already. And we're working in to twist this whole practice. So, option here to add a block if you want to add a block between the legs. We're going to push into the ground, hold and engage, and then we're going to let the knees come a little bit to the right and then a little bit to the left. Small movement, engaging the core. Legs are strong and active. And if you want to make this more challenging, you're going to take the legs straight. Maybe move your block to lower legs. Try to really press the hips into the ground. So you're using that lower core and you're pressing the rib cage down into the ground, restricting the movement. You're just not letting the legs flop around. And then bring the knees in, give yourself a little hug. Land the arms wide, palms down on the ground, shoulders are on the ground, and then we're going to let our knees come all the way over to the right, but hold them hovering. So this should fire up all the stomach, all the core. Notice if you're compensating with the hands. Notice if you're compensating with the neck. Breathe and hold. If you want to make it more challenging, send the legs towards straight. Slowly bring the knees back in towards the chest. Take a little wiggle to reset. And then take the legs over to the right, keeping the shoulders where they are and keeping the core very active. Hold and hover the legs. Notice if you're compensating with the hands or the back. Maybe you're pulling your face. Try to keep the rib cage really firmly on the ground. And then bring the knees back to center. Take a little wiggle to reset. Here we have an opportunity to work with the bend. If you have it, you're going to wrap it around lower leg. If you don't have it, just imagine you are pushing out. We're going to get hips on the ground again, rib cage on the ground. So really focusing on pushing the hips down, rib cage down. Active, strong core. Legs up to the ceiling. Take some wiggles with the toes first. So not engaging the legs, just getting the legs up first. A little bit of keeping the hips solidly grounded. And then we're going to slowly engage into the band if you have it and lower the legs. So lowering the legs nice and slow towards the ground using the core. Notice if the back starts to do all the work, don't bring the legs so low. Hover them at the point where you feel like your entire core is fired up. Notice if your neck and face are compensating. Notice if your arms are compensating. Hold, press into the bends further and then in. So out and in with the legs. Press into the bend, in. Squeeze that core. There should be work. You should be hitting me right now. If it doesn't feel like work, you're cheating. Oh my God. And then bring the knees in and give yourself a little hug. Kaylee just told me she hates me. It's perfectly acceptable behavior. That's part of your yoga practice. So we're locating and finding weak muscles. So we're going to do the world's most graceful transition. Take your legs long and then roll on over to your stomachs. So once you get to your stomachs, find crocodile. One hand on top of the other, forehead down. Shimmy the hips. What can you let go of? feel like you're pulling your pelvis a little bit towards your belly button, you might roll onto the tops of your thighs a little more. Feel that engagement. Feel like it's not a real strong movement, just an engagement of pulling the stomach muscles tied towards the spine, little tilt to the pelvis. Then see if you can lift and hover the legs. They won't go very far. Keep this engagement. Take all the tension out of the head and the neck. Remain in crocodile for the head and the neck. And then press into the band, or if you don't have it, imagine you're pressing out with your legs. Engage. And then in and out. Engaging the outsides of your legs, your hips. Maybe you can start to feel the inner thighs working a little. Try not to make this all about the lower back. So really squeeze that core a little bit. And then let that down, shimmy the hips. Bring the right ankle, bring the strap onto the right ankle, and bring the right knee towards the right shoulder. This should feel like a little bit of a workout, bringing the knee up with the band. If you don't have it, just bring that right knee towards the right shoulder. And then press the heel into the ground to fire up that whole right glute area outside of the right leg. Pull into the band actively with that right leg if you have the band. Really pull. This should feel like work. If you feel like you're taking a vacation, that's fine. But the goal is to find some muscles. So bring that right leg back slowly. Catching the band on the left ankle. Bring the left knee towards the left shoulder. And notice if you cannot get one side as far as the other side. My left side is very weak. So pull into the band. Activate that whole left leg. Breathe. Notice compensation patterns. Your shoulders and your face and your neck should be soft. Your lower back should be soft. Your glutes should be active. Both legs should be active.
Glutes aren't active at all. This is just kind of painful.
Don't put your knee on the ground. Hover your knee.
Hover my knee like that. It's impossible.
Bring it back. We're going to move and breathe. So inhale, lift the shoulders, maybe even lift the feet. Exhale, lower. Find your breath. Find even use of back lines. You're lifting shoulders, not this skull. Not thinking about lifting the skull, but using the whole back to lift the shoulders. Maybe even begin to lift the elbows and draw them behind you. Maybe even begin to engage into the band and find a different engagement in your legs. Bring it up to a hover. Don't hover too high. We're going to engage. Be nice and strong. Inhale, center. Exhale, bring elbow towards hip. Inhale, center. Exhale, elbow towards hip. So using your back to make a teeny twisting motion side to side. You want to make this harder, you're going to take your arms out airplane. Make your torso a little heavier. Engage in the legs. Take the tension out of the face. Take the tension out of the neck. Engage in the whole back. And then bring it down to crocodile. And this time, can you let go of a little more? Soften, release your band. Soften. Find your breath. Bringing both forearms down, clasp the hands. So your forearms are down, you're making a triangle. You're lifting your torso up a little. Tuck the toes and feel like somebody grabbed you by your tailbone and pulled you up. And then maybe bring you to a forearm plank with your arms clasped. Different muscle, different shape for your shoulders. Breathe and hold. Draw the stomach a little more towards the spine. Try not to lock the knees. Soft face. Then lower the knees. Keep the forearms where they are, engaging the arms. So clasping the hands and pulling away from the clasp with your arms. Really tight clasps, really tight pull. Find some muscle engagement. We're going to inhale, bring our nose towards our hands, and exhale, send our hips back. Inhale, nose forward. Exhale, back. Lots of ways to do this. You can throw something underneath your knees if you have sensitive knees. You can tuck the toes and hover the knees. And you can also make this a little more challenging, make it more of a plank shape. Inhaling forward, exhaling, bending the knees and sending the hips backwards. Take the tension out of the neck. Use the shoulders and the chest. And then lower the knees and find a child's. Come on up to a tabletop position. Turn the fingertips towards the knees and find the position where you can place the hand down and open up the wrist without hurting. So then start to lean the body weight forward. So rather than leaning the body weight forward onto the wrist, you're going to lift with the chest as you come forward. Activate the arms and shoulders. So we're not dumping into the wrist joint. We're pressing and making stronger, but we're pulling up from the ground with our muscles. Turn the hands out, sideways. And then same thing, engage and lean forward. Start to take some weight in the arms. And back, forward, and back. And then bring the hands to fingertips, make lots of space for the shoulders. And then again, take as much body weight as you can. So maybe it's just a little tiny movement, just engaging fingers, making fingers stronger. Not dumping into our joints, but lifting up, making the muscles around the joints stronger. And then plant the hands down. Option to take the band around the forearms. If you take the band around the forearms, you're going to plant the hands down and press into the band. So now you're starting to pull away, using a little bit different muscle engagement. And we're going to come to a hover with the knees, engaging the core. Take the tension out of the neck. This should already feel like work. And we're working on twists this whole practice today. We're going to an arm balance with a twist. So we're going to take our right knee towards our left elbow with our stomach back, and then left knee to left, right, opposite elbow. Finding breath with movement. Inhale as you sink back, exhale as you twist and squeeze. You can pump this up, start to take the leg through. Keeping strong engagement of the shoulders. Find your core. Your stomach should start to feel fired up. Complete a full round. Lower the knees. Release the band if you have it. Turn the fingertips to point towards you. Palms up, and just find a little stretch on the back of the wrist. Take the weight out.
I really gotta start working more in your classes.
Are you finding weakness? I'm gonna make you do a booty next. Bring it on back to tabletop. Take the left arm out, right leg back. Breathe and balance. Option to lower the left hand or keep it up. We're going to inhale here and exhale, twist. Look at that right leg. Bring the right leg towards us. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center. Kaylee just fell over. So see if you can do this exercise while giggling. Inhale, twist. Inhale, twist. And then lower the left hand, lower the toes of the right leg, and press through the heel. You can keep it static, or you can take little pulses.
I didn't even do any on this side. I was doing it on the left.
Did you just flop? See, this is what happens when you don't use your muscles. You just flop.
I twisted, and then I saw myself starting to fall in the mirror, and I thought, oh God, don't fall, and then I did.
Bring the right knee towards the right elbow. Hold it here. Lift up out of the ground. Hold it here. Take the right knee out to the side and then back. Out to the side. Nice strong legs. Using the hip. Using all those muscles in your core. And then option to take this a little bigger. Tuck the toes on the back foot. Lift and hover. And inhale up. Exhale in. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist, open. Lower. Find a child's pose and reset. Get out the giggles from Kaylee's fall. And then make your way back to tabletop. Right arm, left leg, nice and strong balance. Inhale long, exhale, twist, bringing left foot to left hand. Inhale long, you can bring the right arm down or you can try to balance. We're not flopping in space. So you want to find muscles to make this movement. You want to engage your muscles. The more you engage, the more you're working. Lower the right hand, lower the left toes, press through the heel, static or little pulses. Bring the left knee towards the left elbow, squeeze, and then out and in, lifting out and up and in. And then you can option to make this a little more challenging, tucking the toes, lifting and hovering the right knee out and in. Find the muscles in the core. Squeeze the stomach, pull it tight towards the spine. And then find a child. Reset, find your breath. Make your way up to a down dog. And find whatever feels good to warm up your down dog. Hips side to side, knees bending. Find your down dog.
Am I going insane or do you hear music? I think I'm going crazy.
Maybe you're having a stroke. I think it's the voices in your head.
I hear that, I can make your hands clap, so. I don't know why.
Find your down dog. Steady your down dog. Lift up out of the ground. Really use your muscles to lift the hips high. Let go of the tension in the neck. Connect with your head below your heart. Find a nice steady breath. Keeping your arms and shoulders locked, slowly take the heels over towards the right. Let the left side body open up. So trying to find active engagement across the left side. Take the heels all the way over to the right, nice and slow, pressing the heels towards the ground, lifting up out of the ground from the stomach. Lifting up out of the wrists. Bring it back to neutral. Lift right leg. Bend right knee. And then open up that right knee. Try not to do what I just did. Lock the arms and shoulders and twist from the rib cage. Bring your hips back to neutral. Bring that knee towards this chest. Take the knee across the body. Hold and hover. Activate that right foot. Breathe and hold. Lots of active, strong twists. And then take the right foot back to three-legged dog. And in to low lunge. So finding some movement in your low lunge. Inhaling forward. Exhaling, sending the right leg towards straight. This is a great place to use your blocks. Inhaling forward, exhaling towards straight. And finding active movement in the muscles, having an internal experience. Find a solid low lunge. Try to lift up a little bit off that thigh, so not sinking into the joints. Active and strong in both legs. Landing the left hand. Right hand long from the shoulder first. And then open up, twist from the rib cage, maybe dropping that right hand onto the hip. Breathe. Try not to sink into this left hand, maybe even hover it. So if you press strongly into that right foot and then pull up, you're going to be able to hover this left hand. Strong both legs, strong core to make the twist happen. Take the tension out of the neck, find a comfortable position for your neck. Take a deep inhale. A little bend in the back leg. See if you can draw yourself up to a twisted high lunge. Nice and slow. You can keep your hand on your hip, right hand on your hip. Really twisting from the core. So you can passive twist by grabbing on and pulling, or you can active twist by using your muscles so that when you lift your hand, you don't ricochet back. Breathe and hold in the twist. See if you can lift this left arm up to the ceiling a little more. And then slowly unravel back to a low lunge. Send the right leg towards straight with a bend in the left. Maybe lift the toes. And we're going to fire up the core. So you can hold on to your block for balance, maybe a little bit further ahead of the foot. We're going to inhale long, exhale, bring right elbow to left knee. Inhale long, exhale, squeeze in. Start to take it a little more pumped up or keep it here. So if you're going to pump up, you're going to float the left hand. And then land a high lunge. Find a steady base. Bring the upper body forward. Bring the left leg to meet the right. And find a little baby chair. So, option to take your chair with a band so you're engaging out, or with a block so you're squeezing in. So if you have the band, you're going to press into the band. You might need to take your legs a little wider in your baby chair. Find your chair so that your low back is not doing all of the work. Your legs are nice and strong. Your core is engaged. Shoulders, face are soft. Staying with that twisting theme. We're going to inhale. Arms forward. Exhale, pull one arm backwards and twist. Inhale, arms forward. Exhale, pull and twist. Keeping the lower body firm and solid. No movement in the lower body. Take this from the rib cage up. Engaging the legs, nice and strong.
I don't think you checked that.
I just noticed we're cutting off our heads.
You look giant. I don't know what is with the angle today.
We had trouble with the cameras today. If I said, oh, look at that.
That's really funny. You look giant.
Inhale, twist, exhale. Bring it back to center. And this time, inhale, lift. Exhale, twist and open. Inhale, lift. Exhale, twist and open. So you're taking opposite hand towards opposite knee, but really focusing on the core more than anything else. And keeping those legs nice and solid. And if your legs are not already burning, you're superhuman. Or you're just taking a break. Bring it all the way up. Bring your hands to prayer heart space. Release the band or the block if you have it. Find your feet on the ground. And then we're going to move and breathe here. Inhaling up and exhaling prayer down to our hearts. Taking a few moments, I am going to adjust the camera because it looks ridiculous.
Nope. Nope. Okay. A little less, maybe you can see that. Oh, that's way too much. That's way too much. Now I have absolutely no head.
And breathing.
Can't see your lap.
That's better. And then find a steady mountain pose. Find your hands to prayer heart space. Maybe even soften your eyes closed. And what can you let go of? great time to check in on left and right hips because we worked one a lot more than the other. And then we're going to work our way down to a yogi squat pose. Nice try, not even close. We have a whole other side. So bring your arms out, shoulder length. Option to keep the heels down, or if you want the extra challenge, you're going to lift and raise the heels. We're going to slowly lower the hips down as if our back is against a wall. Engaging the core. Find your way all the way down, maybe to a hover just above the heels, or maybe all the way to yogi squat. If you're hovering just above the heels, bring the knees out and in, engaging the legs nice and strong. If you're in a yogi squat, just take the feet out and engage around the hips. Active yogi squat. And then find your block and step into a yogi squat malasana. Feet down, maybe even use the block to rest and take a little bit more of a resting malasana. So spine nice and, sending your spine nice and tall. If you're going to press into your thighs with your arms, press back with your thighs. So press both directions, engaging. Breathe. And then option to play. If you want to just hang out in malasana, go ahead. If you wish to play with the arm balance today, you are going to come up on your toes. Have a block handy where you're going to find the ground. So we're going to start up on our toes, a little bit up off our heels, so we're engaged. I don't know I think this is the easiest way for you to see me going forward. So holding up here, maybe you can toe stand and hold. Inhale, center. Exhale, turn the body to the right. Inhale, center, and exhale, turn. Inhale, center, exhale, turn. I can see Kaylee in my screen just hanging out in malasana, which is hilarious. I made her wait in her least favorite pose. And then we're going to bring our hands down to the right side.
I know what pose you're doing, and I figured I need malasana more than I need to.
So maybe you're just going to practice landing your left hand so that you get a shelf just above the elbow on the thigh rests here. Place your hands down. Get solid in your base and just practice bending the arms and taking some weight into your arms.
Hurry up. My legs are shaking.
And then if you want to try for a twisted side crow, two ways you can do it. You can plant both elbows as a shelf. So just above the elbow on the right, just above the elbow on the left. Land it in your thigh and your hip, and then lift up. I hit my block. Or you can try for extending that right arm long from the body, one shelf with the left arm, and then lift the toes. So you really want to get strong in the chest, like you're making an arch, hollowing out the core, and really focus on that upper body strength. Lift your body up into this pose. And when you're done playing, come down to your knees and find a child's pose. If you hung out in malasana, definitely take a child's pose. make your way back to a down dog.
I just have lost in it.
Left leg lifts. Get strong upper body, bend the left knee, then open the hips. Twisting from the rib cage down. Bring the knee back slowly towards the chest. Cross the body. And then back all the way up to three-legged dog. And step it through low lunge. Find some movement in your low lunge. Inhaling forward and exhaling leg towards straight.
I think I deserve my shorts.
Almost. And then find a nice solid low lunge. Get really strong in your legs. Lift up a little bit off that front thigh. Plant the right hand. Left arm really long first. Get long in the torso, then twist open. Maybe land that hand back on the hip. So really twisting strong from the core. Trying to find your stomach muscles, maybe even beginning to float this right hand. Really strong in that left leg, pressing into the ground, lifting up out of the ground. Big inhales, you see if you can come all the way to twisted high lunge. Bring it back. Regular high lunge. Find a solid base. Now we're going to move and breathe. So solid base. Inhale forward. Exhale, draw elbow back and twist. Inhale forward, twist and turn. Really finding the core. Bring it back to center. Hands to prayer. Body forward. Bring the right leg with you. If you use the block or the strap in the previous chair, switch it up. Try the other way. Otherwise, just get really strong in the legs. And same thing. Inhaling forward, drawing back with the exhale and twisting. Inhale forward, draw back and twist. Trying to lock that lower body active and strong. And then bring it back to chair. Hold. Maybe this time locking with the block or the band. Come to the balls of your feet. And we're going to slowly lower down. Slow as you can. Come to a hover. And either find your malasana from here or go ahead and play for a twisted crow on the other side. So we're going to go for a twisted crow. Begin by coming onto the balls of your feet. You need to be nice and strong in your feet and your legs. Torso up. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist open. Using the core. Inhale, center. Exhale, twist. And then find your twist. Find your right hand down on the ground close to the right knee. Land it. Get strong in this right hand. Strong in the wrist. So solid in your foundation. Find the shelf just above the elbow on the right arm. Place the left leg just above the knee there. You can either have this left hand out or close to the hip and make another shelf. So find your position that you feel strong in and start to play. Just take a little bit of upper body weight, a little bit of body weight into the upper body. Moving over, pulling up, and then maybe even lifting toes up off the ground. And then when you're done playing, land it on the hips. Didn't have to ask Kaylee twice for that one. So take the feet out and wiggle them, loosen them. Let go. So let your feet wobble.
I think I found my flaw. When I sit on the block, I have my hips wider, I think. And if I lift up from here, it doesn't hurt as much as if they're...
Point and flex your feet. Let your legs wiggle. Try not to lock the knees. And let your hips wiggle on the ground.
I don't know, I think we lost it and I are starting.
So if you have your blocks, I have little short arms, so I can't do this without the blocks, but if you have the blocks, you're going to put the blocks near your hips. Some of you may be able to press into the ground and just lift up a little bit. Place the heels on the ground. Press into the blocks. Lift a teeny bit off the ground, let the hips drop. Little drops. It's supposed to feel silly. If you start to giggle, that's kind of the point. Maybe if you want to be super crazy, you're going to bring your legs to an easy seat and start to do it in an easy seat. Lifting up and dropping. Lifting up and dropping. And Kaylee's probably going to do the super crazy version where you lift everything and drop. Lift all, drop.
So it reminds me of the Camel Soup commercial I did. The kid with the beard.
Why is this good? And then when you're done playing, bring it back to center. Find an easy seat. Find a comfortable seat. If there's some other way that you prefer to sit, go ahead. Bring the palms of your hands face up. And try to begin to feel a little taller in the spine, almost as if you're just trying to stack one vertebrae at a time with a little bit of space in between each, almost as if somebody took a little string on your crown of your head and pulled you up. Took all that weight off your spine. Center, find your breath. Bring your chin down towards your chest and then take a really slow circle with the head as if you're trying to feel every single angle your neck can move in, nice and slow. And then reverse the circle. Bring your head back to neutral. Find your left foot. However you can find it, you're going to take your right hand and you're going to give it some squeezes. Both hands, sorry. Squeezes, just rubbing your foot. So we worked our feet a lot, maybe even grabbing along that outer edge, really kind of grabbing and pinching. Just finding a little soft massage on the foot.
Very, very good.
Finding your heel of your hand on the heel of your foot, really finding a little pressure here. And then switch feet. So really, we worked the feet a lot. We went into toe stand. So really finding a little self massage. Find what feels good. Fingertips into the ball of the feet. And then slowly make your way down to your back. Don't sit up just yet. Come to your back. Bring your knees in. Give yourself a little hug. Notice what feels different than when we started the practice. Worked pretty hard today. Take your feet up to the ceiling and just wiggle your toes and take ankle circles. Starting to let your body soften into the ground, your legs soften, just getting your feet above your heart. Start to connect back in with your breath. And then bring your feet down with a little soft bend in your knee. So your heels land, but your knees have a little tiny bend. And we're just going to do that reset, the whole body reset, flicking our toes and letting our body wiggle. Letting go. So just checking in internally and looking for places that seem to be gripping as you're just letting your body vibrate and wiggle on the ground. Start to really soften your breath and let go. Maybe even begin to bring your eyes closed. And then take a really, really strong deep breath in and suddenly let go with the exhale. Let the body just land. Notice where it lands. Notice any tweaks, any twists and turns. Just feel your body on the ground. And then bring the knees back in towards the chest. And we're going to take the legs and arms and wiggle them and shake them. So just as if we're having a tantrum, wiggle and shake. Really try to shake as much as possible. And really shake, shake, shake arms and legs. Kaylee had to do Malasana today. I promised her I'd let her do the tantrum pose if we ever did Malasana. There we go. Tantrum pose. And then flop. Just notice where you land. Do you have a little bit less tension? So maybe some of the tweaks and twists and turns and gripping and holding patterns feel a little bit different. Maybe they don't. Some of these things take a while to unravel. Begin to feel your breath. Feel it arrive, slowly filling your lungs. And then feel it slowly returning back out into the room. And then we're going to set up for our meditation. So I'm going to show you with Kaylee what we often do. But feel free to take this however you wish to take it. If you have a chair to place your legs on, this can be super wonderful. your knees into your chest. Keep them towards your chest. So using a chair, you can prop up your legs. This allows your hips to land pretty solidly on the ground. Feel supported. Allows blood to rush easily from your heart, to your heart from your feet. Find a blanket. One of the things that you aim to do with the resting pose is not be in a stretching position. All the stretching is done, all the work is done. So for a resting pose, our goal is to find that position on the ground where our body feels secure, supported, and all of the muscles can begin to release the tension. So you're not looking for stretches. This is not the moment to be competing with yourself and trying to get that one last stretch in. I really want to get these hips open. I really want to get these legs open. Trust me, I've been there. I've done that. I've heard the teacher say go into your resting pose with your hips open, and I have totally just pushed myself. I'm like, oh good, I get another 10 minutes of this pose, opening my hips. Right now we're looking for a resting pose. So often our bodies are in fight and flight. They can even get stuck in fight or flight mode. And we have no idea because this becomes homeostasis. It becomes normal for our bodies. So to be stuck in this tense area, ready to get up and run and fight and be strong, ready to go. Our digestion is slow, our body is strong, our muscles are tense and taut, ready to fire. We don't know that we're doing this because that is normal. So our body says, oh, okay, so we're just going to turn off all that sensory information because that's just what it's always like. So we come to these poses to find that tension. And we might not necessarily be able to just switch it off like a light switch, but we come to find it, to explore it, to meet it, to greet it, to get to know it, to place a little loving kindness into this space. And we begin to tell ourselves that right here in this moment, all of our needs are met. Begin to find your hips on the ground. Connect with the bones. Connect with your pelvic bowl, this big heavy bone at the end of your spine, or collection of bones. This base. Imagine you could tell each and every one of the muscles that support this area one by one that they can switch off and take a break. Muscles in the thighs, muscles in the glutes, muscles in the hips, muscles in the torso can all take a break, turn off, soften, and release the burden of carrying this heavy bone collection at the base of our spine. Ground can support us right now. Allow the ground to support us. Connect with the fact that you are not falling in space. You are not in motion. You are on the ground. walk your awareness slowly up your spine as if you could visit each vertebrae. Maybe imagining injecting little pockets of space and softness between each vertebrae. And releasing any clamping or holding or gripping of all the muscles around our spine as we slowly walk up our spine, vertebrae at a time. Imagine by just placing our awareness here, we could get a little longer. We could undo a little compression, a little gravity. Maybe you could imagine just magically resetting misaligned bones and holding patterns. That meeting space of the spine and the skull. And connect with your skull, another big heavy bone, being supported by the ground. Imagine your skull could just sink a little more into the ground, and all of the muscles that support the skull can soften and release their burden. Take a little break. Really focusing on that meeting point of the skull and the neck. Imagining softness. Placing softness. Releasing gripping. You can even connect this to your breath. Imagine breathing in fresh to this space and exhaling away tension. Connecting with all of the muscles, all of the tension, all of the holding patterns right at this space, the connection of the skull to the neck, the head to the neck. Perhaps you're beginning to notice in and around the jaw. Maybe you can imagine so much softness where upper and lower jaw meet, and in under the lower jaw. You feel like your hearing is a little easier. There's a little less gripping around the ears. Can you imagine softness inside of the ear canal? Begin to land in the face. And you let let go of a little holding patterns, a little tension around the eyes, over the cheeks, around the lips. And land in the very center point of the mind. As if you could land on the top of your tailbone, right in the center of the brain. And thinking about the brain as a muscle, can you imagine more softness in the brain? Can you imagine ungripping and releasing tension from the brain? Ungripping around the thoughts. Not clearing the mind, not emptying the mind, not forcing the mind. Getting to know the mind. Letting the mind be. Without fighting, without force. What is here? What is present here? Can you greet it without judgment? When a strange or perhaps disturbing or unnerving thought comes in, can you just see it as a firing of the brain, a natural fluctuation of the mind? Ungripping around the thoughts, just as we ungrip the muscles around the bones. Perhaps you can find that center point, as if you're dropping below the thoughts. And they're somewhere up above, a little bit more distant, on the upper layer of the brain. And they're just firing, they're just doing what they do. They don't need to understand, you don't need to force, you don't need to know or cognitively be here. Just rest in the center, ungripping in the mind, ungripping of the body, ungripping of the breath, ungripping of the thoughts, releasing and letting go. For the next few breaths, trying to rest in that center point of your mind. Whenever you get trailed away or drawn into the fluctuations of the mind, just gently imagine falling back, dropping below, turning to your center and peeking back up, noticing that those are just thoughts. Then noticing perhaps a little space in between the thoughts. And then noticing perhaps the one that is able to witness the thoughts. physical space and you need to take more time, please take more time in this space. Resting in this space for as long as you need. If you need to finish up on the 75-minute mark, just coming right up on the 75 minutes. So begin to take gentle wiggles of the fingers and the toes. And bring your hands to your thighs and bring some little circles under your thighs, waking up your legs, connecting with sensation on your legs. And then bringing a knee in at a time. Curl up in a little ball and then move over to a fetal position, whatever side is calling to you. Taking some time to ground down and arrive back in the present moment in time. Maybe during your practice or during your meditation, you were able to let go of some tension and try not to cognitively understand this tension came from this event or this event caused this tension. Try not to cognitively understand, but feel, have an internal experience of perhaps some tension moved in your body today. Or maybe some tension in your head moved. Maybe some tension in your emotional layer shifted. Check in, have an experience, connect within. And perhaps connect with the possibility of letting that tension go permanently. So letting tension go is not letting go of the experience or being ashamed or judging the experience, regrets, or anything else. Letting go is making a promise to yourself, to your innermost self, that you're ready to let go of the tension surrounding the event. That all of that tension built up protection and it served you, but you're ready to let that tension go. And perhaps just having an internal experience and feeling perhaps a weight, a tension, a feeling releasing and remaining on the mat. So that when you come on up to a seat, perhaps you can feel maybe a tiny bit lighter. And try to finish your practice returning to a seated position. Familiar patterns, familiar rituals. Return to your seat. Bring your hands to prayer at heart space, this gesture of bringing our left and right sides to meet in front of our hearts. This gesture of accepting ourselves as whole and complete, exactly as we are. Accepting our swirling minds, our swirling emotions. Accepting that we are not broken and that we are all on our own journey. May we learn to let go of those judgments that we place upon ourselves. The less that we judge ourselves, the more kindness and compassion we have to give to others. For we judge in others what we judge in ourselves. We fear in others what we fear and do not wish to face in ourselves. We have all been there. We have all judged another because it's a reflection of what we are not ready to face in ourselves. So learn to wrap yourself in loving kindness. Learn to accept yourself as whole and complete so that you can extend that kindness out into your circle. May we all know love, light, and connection. Thanks for joining us. Okay, Kaylee. I totally forgot something that I'm going to add into the video when I edit it. So could you come?